Good evening. Friday, July 26, 2024, here in Sarasota, Florida. It dawned on me that I should probably earlier on rather than later in this 30 video series establish some of the higher level, um, let's call them themes, higher level beliefs that personal beliefs of mine that underlie, that serve as the sort of underlying assumptions that if and when you tune in to any part of my work, it behooves one, if they even want a chance at trying to really understand what I'm doing, what I'm trying to convey, is to understand what is at the foundation of everything that I'm doing. I used to be more open with calling it and everything that I'm doing spiritual and having a spiritual, hugely spiritual foundation, which is not untrue. But over the course of the past few years, and I may or may not go into more detail about this in a future video in this series, I have learned, I'd say unfortunately, but I try not to label anything as unfortunate or fortunate. It just is. That word and those identifying as spiritual, let's just say it's not something that there just can become a lot of preconceived notions that may not necessarily bring to mind and bring to heart what I'm really hoping to do at a initial introduction of anything that I do. It is entirely spiritual. It is entirely based on my own personal point of no return spiritual awakening that took place on November 18th, 2010. Absolutely, positively, everything in my world shifted for good. Hence why I call it the point of no return. I've been a seeker for this entire life, or I was a seeker. I'd say I guess I still seek, but I do a lot more seeking internally and understanding myself internally as opposed to trying to find things externally first. It's actually the reverse that serves me much better in present day. But I had been seeking. I had been seeking for a lot of years, pretty much the better part of 2 decades, when I finally broke through with a specific experience. But there were many, many, many things and experiences that led to this breakthrough point that took place on November 18th, 2010. And it actually took place at the home I grew up in from age 9 to 18 in suburban Detroit, my mom's home. That's where it took place. Nothing, nothing, nothing was to ever be the same. And everything that I have done since launching my company of me, I call my launch date November 30th, 2012, but legally I became a company in Florida on January 1st, 2013. Every single piece of what I've done since that point absolutely is based upon my own, what I call my own personal point of no return spiritual awakening. What did I awaken to? What did I remember about sort of the greater truths? I remembered or awoke to the fact that in our current mainstream society, we have agreed, we have been, I would say we've been mind controlled and conditioned to give massive amounts of our power away to systems, to people, to ideas that if you one really takes and goes on the internal journey, if you were to go and ask yourself why you believe certain things, why you follow certain paths, if you were like me, you may discover that none of it is really anything, or very little of it was anything that you yourself, as your unique being, would choose. It was something that something outside of you conditioned you to believe that you had to choose. I somewhat instinctively have known since I was a little girl that this was not all there was. And as I got older and older and saw the tragedy that still exists for so many in the world. And now, do I think that a utopian, happy for everybody world exists? I don't know. I certainly know that I don't accept that our current state of the world is the best that we've got as humanity. I very much believe that we haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg of what it means to be human and what we're able to do together. But I do not believe that we can achieve our potential individually or collectively by following the current mainstream paradigms that are based on lack, fear, and competition. I feel like it has to and can only be achieved through ideas and concepts and decisions based on abundance, based on love, and based on cooperation. Those are integral and have been integral components at the foundation from moment one of everything that I have done in the establishment of my unique company of me and with every single conscious choice that I make. I work to make it with the idea of abundance as opposed to lack, with the idea and the feelings and the true energy of love versus fear. And no, I do not believe that hate is the opposite of love. I believe fear is the opposite of love. And I am a wholehearted 100% believer in cooperation, in finding the win-wins as opposed to competition. And that's kind of an interesting thing for me individually in my individual wiring because I grew up as an athlete and I went to college on a Division I basketball scholarship. So I was a high achieving, highly competitive individual in team sports right up until my 20s. But despite that, I now, I don't want to say I don't want to go off on the specific tangent of talking specifically about the difference between cooperation and competition, but suffice to say that I have had plenty of high level competition in my blood, in my wiring, to now be able to speak to the other side of that coin. Not that they're necessarily mutually exclusive. Obviously, when you're competing as a team, there's cooperation amongst the team members that are on the same team, but the ultimate exercise of action is still involving competing. And in competition, if there's a winner and there's a loser. And I really truly believe and aim for as many win-wins as possible, again, with every single conscious decision I make, every choice that I make. It's always looking for the betterment of as many people as possible and finding the win-wins. I believe that it doesn't take it doesn't take a visionary person. I don't think it takes much at all to look at the way that the world is right now to see that we are absolutely a world based on lack, fear, and competition. And that a world based on the other opposites, love, abundance, and cooperation, is a completely different version of reality. That is the version of reality that I am intending to build a life where I'm never having to step into the fear-based, lack-based, competition-based world. Again, that would be the dream of dreams. Trust me, there will still be plenty of drama in a world based in abundance, love, and cooperation because we're human beings. But I just cannot agree to any statement that proclaims that those two versions of reality look the same. And I can speak to it because in my own individual world now, for 12 years, I have been, as aforementioned, focusing on the love, the abundance, and the cooperation. And it's hard not to believe they're not mutually exclusive. I feel like the further along we get in this awakening process that all of humanity is going through, and I do believe that's a universal truth with a capital T, whether individuals want to believe it or not, there is a powerful shift in consciousness taking place on our planet, in our cosmos right now. And it's that serves as the underlying, overriding inspiration for everything that I do. I'm looking for win-wins. I'm looking to have the most positive ripple effect for as many people in a positive direction as possible. I am looking to avoid the victim base, the victim consciousness that is also highly defined and prevalent in our fear-based, competition-based, lack-based world. I am absolutely about personal accountability and personal responsibility. In the previous video, I mentioned 3 key words that my business partner and I isolated and highlighted as it pertains to our partnership's mission, vision, and purpose. The mission, the key word for our mission is freeing, working to free us from whatever it is that we allow to enslave us. You will find, if you do the work, that it's mostly contains and begins with our belief systems, but then that plays out in how and what we give of ourselves to others and into the systems and into the companies that we work for. All of these things, we believe in trying to free ourselves from any and all of the constrictions and restrictions that many aspects of our current world place upon us. Vision, the main word related to our vision is opportunity, providing opportunities. I will most definitely have at least one video speaking about opportunities. I am not about handouts, not in any way, shape, or form. It's not about a handout and just handing things to people, but that can be seen as a very subtle difference in providing opportunities. So opportunities is the key word that represents our vision and our purpose. Our purpose is to give, through the opportunities, ownership back to individuals that work with and for our various efforts. Freeing people, providing opportunities, and providing a way to have ownership, beginning with owning our own time. There's a great quotation: whoever owns your time owns your mind. The person that quotation comes from, his name is Jose Arguelles, and he's actually the man through whom that galactic calendar that I've referenced in a couple of the other videos, the galactic calendar that today is day 1 of the 13 moon galactic calendar year, July 26th. That version of the calendar came through a man named Jose Arguelles. And that is Jose's quote: whoever owns your time owns your mind. And again, that's sort of a subtle way to show how the 13 moon calendar piece plays into all of this. Because basically, I see the world as it is needing to be reconstructed from the foundations that I mentioned. The world based in lack does not look like the world based in abundance. So everything has to be recreated from the ideas of abundance, cooperation, and love. From my perspective, that's what I believe stands in front of us collectively as an opportunity. If you look at the world the way that it is, I'm tired of repeating the same cycles. I'm tired of, you can watch a great movie called The Network back in the 70s and either have a laugh or a cry over all the same political issues facing our country way back then, 50 years ago, as it is today. We are on a cycle that repeats itself. I'm not interested in repeating that cycle, and I'm not interested in feeding any of the systems that aim to keep that cycle going, including, least of which, our political system. So I am and aim and try to be the change I wish to see. Now, obviously, unless you're going to go out in the middle of nowhere, you can't completely go off the grid. We can't completely stop using all these systems. That's why I try to tap into them as little as possible, be in them as little as possible, to bridge a way to new energetic ways of doing things. That is probably enough for this video. I apologize if it doesn't come across as cohesive enough. I don't have the time today to be able to redo the video. So that's going to have to suffice. So I'll leave you again with the 6 total words: Abundance, love, cooperation. That's going to be the title of this video. Abundance, love, cooperation. And I invite you to contemplate really what a world would look like based on those things, as opposed to a world based on lack, fear, and competition. Now, I'm not going to engage in any debate on whether or not we live in a current mainstream world based on lack, fear, and competition. I think it's clear as day that that's what defines the world at large still, which is again also why I say what comes through me, what I'm sharing, what I'm trying to live. It's not going to appeal to people who still believe in and want to participate in this world. And that's okay. I don't need to bash this. I'm just saying I have a personal preference of living in a different energetic based world. I don't want to continue to feed when I remember the power through my own spiritual awakening, the massive power we have within us to come together to redefine a different mainstream reality. So hopefully that is somewhat clear. And like I said, I'm just going to keep going. These first ones are going to be rough, especially because I'm a little distracted. I've got this event going on. And as soon as it finishes up tomorrow, starting Sunday, I'm really hoping the cohesiveness and the succinctness. And I just hope the overall quality of the videos goes up a notch on Sunday as I, again, find my chops and become less distracted and am able to really, really focus on this series. Okay, hopefully this was informative and helps again paint the backdrop for the overall picture that I'm looking to depict by the end of the 30 days. Okay, thanks for listening. Talk to you tomorrow.